Roy Keane is implying that Sir Alex Ferguson is heavily involved in all the processes at United. I think you're hearing different, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess my take would be United have 99 problems and Fergie ain't one. Bit corny. No, just, well, yeah, 999. Look, the long and the short of it is he's seen on television when the camera pans to the stands, but the days of him being closely involved are gone. He's not even paid by the club anymore. He's there because, as Sam writes in the piece, he's an 84-year-old man who's following a football club that he loves, and in that time since retiring, I don't think he's barely made a pronouncement about the state of the first team, what kind of job the manager's doing. There's an interesting piece by Paul Hayward, who knows Ferguson very well, who wrote his autobiography, one of his autobiographies, points out that Fergie's union background means that he was very conscious of not being seen like Matt Busby was seen, as interfering with managers. His presence is there as a symbol of what United used to be, and that's the issue, not his actual involvement. But Roy Keane knows how to put a tackle in, doesn't he? And that comment was classic Roy. Obviously, their animus goes back to Roy leaving the club in 2005, and perhaps opinions that I don't think Roy's ever going to budge from. But this isn't about Matt Busby's situation. For one thing, the Busby situation was he was a sort of intimidating presence to sort of novice managers or kind of managers that were seen as not big characters. But United have had some of the biggest characters in the dugout. They've had Mourinho, they've had Van Gaal. They've had strong character like Amorim himself, pretty stubborn guy. The thought that Fergie is there kind of influencing them or intimidating them is just one of Roy's TV moments, but I don't think reality.
Miguel, Johnny mentioned Paul Hayward's piece there. In The Observer, it says, one call to Sir Alex exposed the deep malaise at the heart of Manchester United. And talking about that call that Fletcher made, he says, when Fletcher tapped Ferguson's number on his phone screen, the call travelled across all the waste of the last 13 years to the genius behind 13 Premier League titles, 5 FA Cups and 2 Champions Leagues. It resurrected the principle that Ferguson might have something useful to say about what should happen next. And he did, by articulating something the Glazers and parts of the Ineos ownership don't understand. The job now, is what he said to Darren Fletcher, is to do what's best for Manchester United. What Manchester United are doing at the moment is bringing in an interim in Darren Fletcher, talking about bringing another interim after Darren Fletcher before appointing a permanent manager in the summer. Is that what is best for Manchester United?
Yeah, definitely. Also, it gives them the kind of space to actually think about this clearly, which I think really is required. I mean, I think one of the biggest issues of the modern Manchester United, and this feeds into a lot of themes of the show today, I think they've got to decide what they actually want to look like as a club. And I mean, like in terms of, especially with one so obsessed with identity, it doesn't really have a football identity. And if you pick one, and this is essential in modern football, then everything flows from that. And that was one of the issues with the Amorim appointment, that really in the summer of 2024, and there is context for this because the new leadership was coming in, key figures were in place, but in the summer of 2024, they really should have taken it almost as starting from scratch and thinking about what do we want this team to look out. Instead, they ended up, I suppose, clumsily persisting with Ten Hag for some justifiable reasons, and then going for Amorim, who's probably more wedded to a specific style than any modern coach, which kind of goes against that sort of best practice that we're talking about. And just like Sam touches on this in the piece there, or at least kind of, I think this is a bit of what he's getting at. I think where the Ferguson thing is significant, I suppose, it's not about his influence, because I mean, I think compared to Busby, as Jonathan was saying, Busby was this kind of, this almost ferocious presence there, even if it was kind of implicit. Whereas Ferguson, by contract, it almost feels like he's kind of a cuddlier figure in retirement than he...
Busby had the office in the stadium. The manager could literally know that Samat's sitting two or three doors down.
And just on the kind of, I suppose, where the phone call is significant is because, as a colleague said to me during the week, I won't out him, but he said, what would have happened if Ferguson said no?
Not for you, Darren.
Like, I mean, which kind of shows a little bit the absurdity of this. And it's like, United are now in a position, and this is where there are echoes of kind of the 17 years between Busby, where they're looking for the next Messiah.
Yeah.
That are the next, and there's almost biblical themes to it.
Yeah.
Jackie, just on that, look, it looks like it's going to be either Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Michael Carrick. There are two things at play here, aren't there? Who's the better coach and who's going to help Manchester United in that short term until the end of the season, but also from an optics perspective. And are they the same thing? Who would be the right choice at this stage?
Well, they tried Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more significantly, of course, than Carrick. So I would absolutely say Carrick out the two. It's weird, isn't it? Because Manchester United, Sir Alex Ferguson's not the problem here. He's the figurehead. He's the guy that brought so much success, that has helped create and amplify the fan base that was already there. It was already a huge club, of course, before him. But what he did was extraordinary. Him sitting in the stands is not the problem. The problem is that it's been an absolute shambles ever since he left, with lurching from one style to another, to a different manager to another, and just going with no kind of serious clue as to what to do next. And it all comes from the top, doesn't it? And it wasn't just that Sir Alex Ferguson left, it was that David Gill left, and the way of doing things was exposed in their absence. And the fact that the first signings under David Moyes, the key ones, the likes of Fellaini from Everton and Juan Mata from Chelsea on a free, kind of low-hanging fruit, they really struggled to really kick off the whole process with a new identity from then, and they've not gone back to that. So in terms of the two managers, I would absolutely say Carrick, give him a go, because I don't see why you'd go back to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But on the Sir Alex Ferguson, sorry, quite disrespectful, front, listening to Peter Schmeichel, legendary goalkeeper, the other day, who's saying that no, Sir Alex isn't involved at all. He speaks to him a lot, and he said he's not. He's just there in the stands, but he's not having a say at all in what's going on. And why shouldn't Darren Fletcher